Z is a refugee from Afghanistan living in Maryland with his wife and children. Before he arrived here, he worked as a dog trainer and handler for the American Army in Afghanistan, providing security and training dogs to detect explosives and narcotics. Because he worked for the Americans, he began to be watched by the Taliban. When he enrolled his daughter in school in Afghanistan, he began receiving threatening phone calls and experienced intimidation because of her gender. His family was in danger, and he wanted to keep them safe, so he applied for a special immigrant visa to the U.S. Z says his first months here were like being in jail. The family was under stress, they didn't know anyone, and they spoke a different language. In his culture, they teach people to give, but he couldn't understand why no one here was helping them. Isn't that the American thing to do? Here in Montgomery County, there's a large network of faith groups and other organizations working toward helping refugee families.
I'm Reverend Mansfield Caseman. I go by Casey. I'm the Interfaith Community Liaison in the Office of Community Partnerships.
My name is Patricia McClay, and I'm a physician by profession. I am on the Executive Committee, the Steering Committee, and I am Chairman of the Health and Advocacy Committee at the Montgomery County Interfaith Refugee Resettlement Neighbors, or Neighbors as we call ourselves.
My name is Loanne Gwen. I'm a member of Chevy Chase Presbyterian Church, and we were invited here today to share our experiences with co-sponsoring a refugee family.
Well, my role within the Office of Community Partnerships is to be identifying all the faith communities and bringing them together in terms that help them understand and appreciate each other, and then to combine their resources in responding to various needs.
We are organized into 3 different levels, and so level 1, when the family first arrives, we totally furnish their home, give them a large amount of food. We also give them Target cards and Metro cards to allow them to have transportation. We do ESOL classes. That is handled through McKern itself. Then we begin to organize a group of interfaith groups that want to step up and sponsor this family. And at that point, we have that hookup where it's not just McKern doing it, it's now the interfaith group, and we hand the family off to them.
As a co-sponsor with LSS, that's Lutheran Social Services, we're signed on as a level 1 co-sponsor, and that involves providing for housing. So they have other levels of sponsorship where you don't have the funds or you don't have the resources to provide housing. You can do other things like just mentoring the refugees to access services and translation and just daily life.
Usually within 3 months, the family no longer gets federal or state aid, so that is when the organizations really need to step up and sponsor. So they will be helping them with rent, food, things they need at home, help the kids with education, do the ESOL classes, and help them with health situations. Many of our families, the ones we've been accepted, have a lot of health problems through ECDC. So we advocate for them in their doctor's offices, and we help them try to find jobs. And now our biggest thing is getting them moved into Montgomery County to make it easier.
What we're doing right now, we're bringing together all of the resettlement agencies. This is a major project, because to do it well, which we'd expect here in Montgomery County, we're needing to commit ourselves to a 5-year process. It can't be just welcoming immigrants and refugees. It has to be a matter of providing ongoing support.
Eventually, Z came in contact with Abdul Sheikh, who works at the Montgomery County Muslim Foundation. During his first few months in America, all Z wanted was someone to talk to, someone to show him the way. He knew he had the energy, and he knew that he could make it here. He just needed the support. Sheikh gave him what he needed.
Then we started looking at how we can support him permanently. So I looked around in the community and found him a job at a gas station. And he couldn't move. He couldn't go there because he didn't have a transport, and it was a night shift. So I asked people, we need a car. So someone donated a car. So I got it repaired and brought him, got it, fixed and gave him a car.
There are currently 60 million migrants, refugees in the world today. And so that was an issue that naturally we'd want to be taking on, especially in a county like Montgomery County, where over a third of us are foreign-born to begin with.
My church got involved because, I think largely because 30-some years ago, they sponsored a Vietnamese refugee family, and that was my family. So for me, being involved is just, it's, honoring my family history, my parents' history in coming here as refugees and having people here who were willing to help us start on our new life here.
As a physician by trade, my specialty has a lot to do with teaching about stress and the rewards that happen in our body chemistry when we choose to give instead of receiving. So when we give, we make a lot of chemicals called serotonins and endorphins, which are very healthy. They keep us healthy. They let us be healthy into the future. So my message would be, go out there and help.
The first thing we start is the getting involved, going to see the guy and see what his issues are. We can give resources, but the best thing you can do to the refugee is to donate your time.
Today, with the help of the Montgomery County Muslim Foundation, Z has found a job at a dog daycare center. He's much happier and says he worries less, but there are still multitudes of challenges ahead. The family wants to move since his daughter is being bullied at school. His 5-year-old son has mental disabilities which remain undiagnosed, but he believes are associated with the trauma they experienced in Afghanistan. The rest of his extended family is suffering terrible conditions back home, and all he can do about it is pray. What does he want from Americans? Advice, support, and acceptance. He doesn't need his hand to be held, and he's ready to work hard, but he, and people like him, can't do it alone. He says, "You don't need to give me fish, just teach me how to go fishing."
You knew that when you were talking about to him that he was interested in what you had to say and who you were. So he was a pleasure to work with, and he was a pleasure to be with.
I don't think there's anyone like him, and it's really hard being without him. But he wants me to be strong and happy, and so I'm working on that for myself right now. And I talk to him every day.
Over his entire life, Gordon Pavy was a well-respected man. As a Maryland baseball coach, a Vietnam veteran, and a labor organizer, he had a profound influence on both his country and his community. Sadly, he passed away on January 26, 2017, due to complications arising from oral cancer. However, known as Gordon to some and Coach Pavy to others, he still resonates with countless individuals to this day.
He certainly lives on with his baseball players. He left a legacy not only of baseball skills, but he taught them many life skills, and dozens of them wrote to me, emailed me, and said that the skills that he taught them they're going to use for the rest of their life.
If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have made JV my first year. I probably would have been cut if there was another coach. He really gave me that chance. And I probably wouldn't be playing baseball right now if it wasn't for him. I probably wouldn't be a captain on varsity, and every day I'm really thankful for everything that he's done for me.
He just really made it clear to me what it meant to be a Blair Blazer. He really instilled in everyone on the team how to play good baseball, how to have great sportsmanship, how to just overall have fun while playing a game, but keep it competitive at the same time.
I think the most significant part Coach Pavy brought to Blair baseball is his attitude for service and family and dedication to team first. He was always looking out to make sure that everybody was a good part of the team and part of the family.
I was with him as an assistant coach and a parent for many years, over many seasons. I don't think I ever heard him yell at a player or raise his voice in any way. So he had a great reservoir of patience. He also, at the same time, had very high expectations for his team. It doesn't matter how old they were or what league they were playing in, the level of competition. He expected them to play well and to get better, and they all did, and they responded to him.
He would take his baseball team every Memorial Day down to Washington, D.C. to wash the Vietnam's veteran memorial wall with mops and buckets, and they would go at 6:30 in the morning. And he did that for years, and I think that really affected the people.
He was a true professional. He was a great human being. He made everybody around him a better person.
The labor movement is extremely complicated. A lot of different unions, many relationships between the unions, many relationships between unions and employers, some of which cross, that are in common. And Gordon had an encyclopedic knowledge because of all of his years of study in the labor movement of those relationships. And he could call upon his knowledge and was able to distill it.
One thing I remember about Coach Pavy is that he was always at the field, like no matter like what he would be going on with. He'd always have a new car. He'd always be ready to play.
The truth of the matter is, this is Gordon's true love, his Mustang. He would wash it and polish it and take it up to some obscure place outside of Baltimore to get enhancements on it. And he just could not do enough for his Mustang.
One of my best friends, knew him through his life in the labor movement. Outside of that, and through baseball, I also played one season with him in the Ponce de Leon League. That's the old fart league, people over 50.
From a community aspect, he's irreplaceable. He did more in decades for youth baseball in this area than any person I think that you could compare or think of.
Though cancer took its toll on Pavy, he combated it with unyielding resilience, and he fought to maintain his daily life.
Gordon was an honorable, even-tempered, principled, very knowledgeable man. And I respect him a great deal.
He was dealt a terrible hand. And he handled it with such dignity and optimism at every stage. Even when things kept declining, Gordon always was trying to look at the bright side of things.
What he did, every community has to have somebody doing that kind of stuff, or things don't happen, and it doesn't mean bad things happen. It just means maybe less good things happen.
This was created by the AFL-CIO Collective Bargaining Department. He was the director when he retired. They made this into a baseball card, and everybody signed it and talked about what a great guy he is.
Just a lovely, wonderful man. Had a great impact on my children and on me, and I miss him very much.
At Montgomery Blair High School, there are around 3,000 students. Of those, around 400 are enrolled in the ESOL, or English for Speakers of Other Languages program. Unfortunately, there seems to be a divide in and out of the classroom between ESOL students and other students at Blair.
To investigate this divide at Blair, we asked students if they knew anyone in the ESOL program. Do you know any students in the ESOL program?
Kind of.
I don't think I do, no.
No.
No. No.
Yes, I do.
They're not friends I know, but I know of kids.
No, not personally.
Yeah, not really.
Not right now.
No, not really, nah.
There is an evident divide between students in the ESOL program and other students at Blair. We wanted to find out why that is.
Well, ESOL students are obviously the newcomers, so they are the ones that are, the burden of assimilation is on them.
It's difficult to come somewhere new and totally not have any of your culture around or anything that you do around you.
In general, the American culture is not very welcoming to outsiders.
When there's not much no interaction, it really hurts the ability to feel a part of the community.
They come feeling different, and a separation between the community and them sort of keeps them feeling different.
If there was an ability to have a little bit more communication, then you would see some of those things change.
3.5 years taking ESOL. I had many friends from different countries that have been in the same situation as I had been through. So we kind of shared our experience with each other, and then we kind of motivated ourselves to keep going forward.
The ESOL program provides a structure for students who speak another language to develop a community with shared language and cultural backgrounds. However, this separation limits cultural exposure for both students in the ESOL program and those in the larger Blair community. Fortunately, many organizations within Blair are working to break down these barriers to communication and integration.
One Blair is a social justice coalition that we started for Blazers who want to get involved in struggles that are seen at Blair and throughout our community.
I am the basically staff sponsor of One Blair, and come up with a lot of the ideas for what we might want to work on. And so one day for lunch during our Wednesday dialogues, Ms. Gill brought her 6th period class, which was an ESOL 5 class. And some of the things that came out of that were really just phenomenal. And it was really interesting to see everybody kind of engage with people that they hadn't ever talked to, and some of the, one of the ESOL kids was very honest. He said, I don't really prefer to hang around white people because I get the feeling white people would rather not hang around me.
The white people I know just because I joined a baseball team. Like, most of the people I know just the white people. It's because I joined the team. That's the only way I know it, because if I didn't join baseball, I wouldn't be talking to them.
And unless you provide the opportunity and the space and the incentive for people to get together and really dialogue from different perspectives, I don't know if it's a natural thing. I don't know that they naturally will do that. There's a couple other organizations that we're looking to work with in the school too. One of the security guards, I think, is Mr. Hernandez, is doing Blazer to Blazer, and we've got Bliss Buddies, and so we've got a number of things.
So Blazers to Blazers is a new program that Carlos came to me about, and it's pretty much a super intensive mentoring program for both students and their families. And when I say students, I mean ESOL students, newly arrived immigrants, and who are extremely vulnerable, who don't have a community. That's the only way we can move forward, is by taking that step and starting a dialogue and starting friendships and starting a community.
I teach career development and run an internship program in addition to BLISS, which is Blair Leaders Intern for Student Success, which is a program where we get students who are doing very well in particular subjects, and we place them in classrooms with teachers who have maybe struggling students in certain subjects and help have them tutor.
I used to only talk to the people who I knew or who speak the same language, because when I came here I didn't really feel comfortable.
As long as we try to make it as much of a community effort as possible, then I think we can see some growth and development among all our programs, but especially ESOL.
While these programs are focused on supporting marginalized students and those in the ESOL program, the larger Blair population has much to gain from participating in these dialogues and organizations.
They can understand struggle. They can understand what it's like to not be part of the majority culture. They can understand, maybe get a little bit more understanding of their own privilege. And when you see that other people don't have that,
it allows them to see things from a different perspective.
I also think there's just value in having friends and relationships with various people, right? So that you kind of bust out of this monolithic bubble where a lot of people, if they don't believe exactly the same thing, they share similarities.
When you're at this age, it's easier for you to kind of step into a different realm, grab a friend, and kind of go into something that's different from your norm.
If we don't talk to each other, if we don't learn about different types of people, then this is how bias and misinformation comes. And with that bias and misinformation, there could be so many things that we could be blaming on each other, we could be thinking about each other that isn't just true. So having these friendships and talking to people can solve so many issues at Blair.
Earth is home to an astonishing 8.7 million number of species. It is the only known planet that has the perfect conditions required to support such variety of life. However, humans are having an increasingly devastating effect on the health of the planet, as well as its ability to sustain life. Pollution, deforestation, and the burning of fossil fuels are all contributing to the major crisis known as climate change.
For me personally, it's hard to imagine not believing in climate change, but I can see how people who don't understand science or who don't understand why these changes are occurring, they may dismiss it.
99% of scientists say that climate change is real, and the fact that Trump and his presidency are in that 1% who don't believe in it is quite frustrating because it's just so well known.
We've known about it for decades, and we've wasted our time. And so, the young generation, they're no different. But I do feel incredible excitement that, they might be young, but they're very savvy. They understand the science, the basics of it, and they understand we need to take action now.
I think student activism is super important. We're the generation that's going to have to deal with the repercussions of climate change, and I think a lot of movements have been led by, angry youth.
We are the next generation, we're the future, and if all of us or a lot of us come together, then it can definitely send a message to the other people and the president, hopefully.
So I think it's important not only to learn about these issues, but to create change if that's something maybe as small as walking in a march, or bigger like creating your own organization or something like that. It's definitely important to be involved because the youth voice is a very important one.
The climate march was kind of like you're dancing at your own funeral. Like we know how depressing all of the scenarios are, and that all estimates, if anything, have been too conservative. But on the other hand, it was just really thrilling to see all these groups and just kind of made this pilgrimage to come together and just say, like, this is easy, guys. This is a no-brainer. And it was just powerful. And we came together that day.
I think that the atmosphere was really good. The fact that the march was so organized and everyone was marching in particular groups definitely helped. There were a lot of good chants that were happening, and I think that it met its goal because there was a large number, and especially since it's Trump's 100th day of presidency, that added to the message.
I think it definitely brings awareness due to the large numbers, but also it can be helpful for you as an individual. Maybe if you don't know as much about climate change, but you do know you support reforms, you can come here and learn about different organizations and get involved in that way. Maybe that opens some doors for you in the future. And I think it definitely is a place to bring people together, because often you aren't gonna see a lot of people that support the same causes as you. So coming to a march or coming to an event is really important, because you can see that you are united and you can make change. Decided to come because I care about the environment, and after attending the Climate Summit field trip at Blair and seeing Leonardo DiCaprio's Before the Flood, I don't know, I felt inspired to get involved and be active in the environmental movement.
Just by beginning to be aware of the small choices you can make as a everyday consumer, to the larger choices who we elect, I definitely, not just the students I teach, but the other students I interact with, I definitely feel that they're more knowledgeable and they do care about this issue because they know it's going to affect them.
I think climate change should be at the top of our agenda, because basically if we don't have a sustainable and healthy earth to live in, we won't be able to enjoy any of the other policy that is enacted. You know, if our earth is deteriorating, what does it matter that you have a job? I mean, because if the earth is gonna deteriorate so much, we should focus on helping that, and then obviously helping other things at the same time, but really make sure that we live in a sustainable environment.
Above all else, climate change is the most pressing issue of our generation. The window of time in which we can reverse the effects of climate change is quickly closing. Join the cause before it's too late.
I mean, life in like high school specifically is hard. There's lots of frustration, lots of like aggression you may feel, and like everyone goes to different outlets, but like I think I've been drawn to, and I think a lot of people are drawn to, like sports and exercise. And
I think it was just kind of the relentlessness. I love how relentless wrestling is, how relentless Coach Groberg is. We always gotta do another burpee, we always gotta do another strip matter. It's like we just keep going, we keep pushing ourselves. And it's kind of just insane. And I love being crazy, I love being an insane wrestler. And people are like, oh, you did all that yesterday? You're freaking wild. Like I find that so great.
I think everyone that has walked foot into a wrestling room has considered giving up. I think that there's times where you push the limit, you're sweating, and it's kind of, it feels awful, and you kind of like feel horrible. You want to know that like it's all gonna be good in the end.
Sometimes, some days, it's just me, man. There's no clock in the room. So the thing is, you're like, man, I think it's gonna be 3 more sprints left, 4 more sprints left, 5 more sprints left. You know, in the beginning, I was out of shape. It was my first time doing a sport. You know, the coaches put me in wrestling. So the mindset was just tough it through. You have to just go. You're in it. So why not just finish it?
Get the leg, suck the leg in, suck the leg in.
Keep driving into him. Hip up. Nothing yet, hip up. Nothing yet.
There was this workout my junior year, and it's still like I have a strong flashback from this workout.
It was, the worst one was a sprint. In my freshman year, the spirits were horrible, man.
We had to go by the time of what Tabata workout, where you go 30 seconds hard and 5 second rest. You can try to get as much rep as possible.
It was to make the time in 28 seconds. It wasn't 30 seconds. It was here 30 feet back. That's one to do that 5 times in 28 seconds.
And I wanted to be the best, so I got 200 more reps than everybody else.
So the thing was, I went once. I made the time, so it was good. It was 28.1 second. I missed it, but the coach was like, all right, it's the first time, it's good, but the next time you have to make it.
And I remember just constantly telling myself, and just looking in myself, not people around me, just looking in me, how much I have left in me, going back and forth with the sit-ups or like doing jump squats or whatever. It's just trying to feel strong. I don't know how to describe that. That feeling is crazy.
So the coach blows the whistle. We run. I ran back 5 times. You know, I thought I made it. Coach is like, no, you're 28.2 seconds. Back on the line.
You know it's gonna help you in the match when there's 10 seconds left and you have no breath. If you can beat yourself today, you're not gonna be able to. You're gonna be used to this in the last 10 seconds of the match.
It was only me. Everyone else made it by 28. But the thing was, they made it. I didn't make it. So the whole team went back on the line, and this happened at least six times. I remember at least 6 times. Because after 6 times, the coach said, "All right, now you have 30 seconds to make it." So it took me 12 times. But you know that it teaches you to give it you all. The first time, because if I had given it my all, because I know I was slacking the first time. If I had just given it my all the first time, I wouldn't be on it the 12th time.
Last year in the winter when we had to do those like 50 some strip matters, and I literally just started like heaving and just like crying a little bit, and it was so awful and it was painful, and we finished it and coach was like, all right, we're good. And I was like, it was just such a milestone. It was such a mountain I had to climb in just like a 2-hour practice, and I felt so exhausted. I'm like, wow, life goes on. And it kind of just showed me like, you know, even the worst to come is just not that bad. Like I can get through it. So that was definitely the practice where I just kind of realized that I can do just about anything I push myself to do.
I'm from Pakistan, you know, so your family doesn't get the concept of, you know, having their child wrestling. They don't know what wrestling is. I try explaining to them, you know, I have to cut weight. They're like, what do you mean cut weight? You know, because in Pakistan wrestling is only the heavier division. You know, wrestling is like sumo wrestling. There's like big guys in wrestling. There's no 120 guys. There's no 106 guys. So every time I used to come home, there was food on the table. You know, and they see food. You know, the smell is everywhere. The smell is everywhere. So I used to eat. I used to eat, and then I used to run at night. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I used to go out and run and lose like 2 or 3 pounds, and then I used to go to sleep. I used to wake up. Sometimes during a match, I used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I used to run, go to sleep, wake up at 7 o'clock, go to school. But when I was mentally pushed, I think it was a day before a match. When you cut it 8 pounds, it's always the last 2 or last 3 pounds that you have to cut. And how much you run, it doesn't matter. You know, if you run, usually I run 10 steps in the stairs. You know, up and down 10 times. I lose 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 pounds. But in the last 3 pounds you have to cut, it doesn't go away. You have to just push yourself. You have to push yourself. You have to wear. I used to wear 4 layers of sweatshirts, 4 layers of sweatpants, and just be in the wrestling room. Don't talk to nobody. And when somebody came up to me, I was just angry. You know, why are you coming to me, man? But yeah, man, cutting weight is hard.
Let's go. Come on, get up.
Get his leg. Oh, nice! Oh, nice! There's something in wrestling which I don't really understand. You know, when I also did boxing, but there's something in these one-on-one sport that I don't even know. But once you win it, you just want to keep coming back. You know, you just want to keep coming back. It's just your body just got used to the workout, and you know, once you see other people winning. You see other people with trophies, with the medals. You know, you're like, man, I want to have all that stuff too. I want to be a champion too. You know.
When you win your first match, when you get your hand raised, that's the best feeling ever. People are looking at you, your family is looking at you, your friends are looking at you, and that moment right there is what addictive about wrestling. And then you're willing to go back again and again into pain and hunger and less sleep and everything just to get that feeling again. That little pump before match, the little happiness after the match. That's one thing that stays with you in your mind. Yeah.
Noah's winning. Yeah, that's how we do it.
Hello and welcome back to Subourban Bakery. My name is Amy and today I'll be showing you how to make peach cobbler. We'll start by making our filling. We're going to need 8 ripe peaches, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of dark brown sugar, a tablespoon of vanilla, and a pinch of salt. To start, slice the peaches. Following safety protocol, use a sharp knife under adult supervision. Do as I say, not as I do. You know, when you get to the middle, these peaches are all kind of disgusting, which, if you think about it, is a pretty good lesson for life. Next, toss the peaches in a bowl with the rest of the ingredients and then layer them neatly into a 9x13 pan. Okay, let's make some topping. We're going to need a 1.5 cups of sugar, a stick of softened butter, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of salt, 3/4 cup of milk, and 1/2 cup of hot water. First, using an electric mixer, beat the butter and 1 cup of the sugar until sandy. Add the flour, baking powder, and salt and beat until combined, then slowly mix in the milk. Continue beating for about 2 minutes until the mixture is light and slightly fluffy. Now we'll assemble the cobbler. Take the batter and place it on top of the peaches in a roughly blob-like fashion. Using a spatula, frosting spreader thing, or whatever other tool you happen to have sitting in your kitchen, spread the batter evenly over the peaches. Sprinkle the batter with the remaining sugar and drizzle the hot water on top. If you don't want sticky peach filling to bubble over into your oven,
Place the pan on a foil-lined baking sheet. I'm not going to do this because I like excitement in my life. Bake for around 60 minutes. Check on the cobbler periodically as baking times may vary. When it's done, the top of the cobbler should be golden brown, and if you stick a toothpick in it, it should come out batter-free. Once it's out of the oven, let the cobbler cool for 30 minutes. Normally I would ignore this type of instruction and eat the whole thing immediately, but the filling needs time to set and thicken, so please let it cool for the full time. Serve it in a bowl with vanilla ice cream, a drizzle of heavy cream, or any other delicious dairy product you see fit. Enjoy! Just like every star that synthesized every atom of your existence, Suburban Bakery has come to an end. Thanks for watching!